name is Sarah Crott. I am the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations at the University of Northern Iowa Alumni Association. But today I am moderating this session as a member of our programming committee. So thank you and welcome to session 3B, Collaborating with Advancement MarComm. We've got a great panel today featuring Lindsay McKinnon, Dana Morgan, Katie Schutz, and Melissa Landry. Couple quick housekeeping before we get started. If you're having trouble with the app, here are a couple quick instructions that will help you navigate moving forward. Make sure you get re-signed back in and click the three dots on the bottom bar of the app screen and switch events from the sponsor schedule into the full schedule. You may have to do this more than once, but once you're back in the full schedule, you should have all of the schedules and things that you need for the rest of the conference. Just some formatting notes for this session. After I introduce our panelists, I have asked each of them to share a little bit of context about the Alumni Association and their relationships with the different marketing teams on their campuses. So we'll do that quick. I've prepared a couple of questions, and then we'll turn it over to the room to ask questions. We are on a time constraint, so if we don't get to all of the questions, make sure you find these four very talented women throughout the conference to ask any remaining questions that you have. And this session will be recorded and made available on the CAMP website after the conference. Ladies, would you like to join me up here? All right, I'm going to introduce them in the order that they appear on my screen, your screen as well. They're not necessarily sitting in that same order here. So first, Lindsay McKinnon is the Director of Strategic Alumni Services at the Arkansas Alumni Association, where she leads communication engagement and digital outreach efforts to connect alumni with the University of Arkansas. A proud U of A alum, she earned a bachelor's in communication in 1977 and is currently pursuing her master's degree. Thank you, Lizzie. Dana Morgan serves as the Associate Executive Director for Marketing and Special Interests at Clemson Alumni Association, where she leads strategic communication, brand development, and high-impact alumni engagement initiatives. Thank you, Dana, for being here. Katie Schutz is the Associate Director of Alumni Communications and Events and has been at the University of West Florida for 10 years. In this role, she oversees the Alumni Association's marketing strategy, communication channels, alumni college events, and communications, signature alumni association events, football tailgates, affinity programs, and special projects. That sounds like a lot. Thank you for being here. And finally, Melissa Landry, who is a first-time camper herself, joined the University Advancement Team at Loyola University New Orleans in 2025 with more than a decade of fundraising and communications experience in healthcare and higher education. As the Director of Advancement Communications, Melissa helps create and manage strategic communications for alumni, donor, and friends, connecting those passionate about making a difference with opportunities to do so while informing generous supporters of their impact for students and their community. Thank you very much. All right, so in that same order, will each of you please describe your alumni association structure and any key characteristics of your relationships, I'll put it up on screen, with your advancement marketing team, your university marketing team, and any campus marketers. So you're up first.
Super, thanks for having me. So I'm Lindsay McKinnon. I'm the Director of Strategic Alumni Services at the University of Arkansas for the Arkansas Alumni Association. We are interdependent with the university, so we're a separate 501c3, but all of our 19 full-time staff members are state employees. I currently report to the Executive Director, but starting August 1st, we're going to put somebody in between. We're hiring a Chief Operating Officer who's going to work to sort of align communications and our programming teams together. I have three full-time staff members that report to me. We manage all member services, comms, and marketing. We have separate roles and responsibilities from our advancement MarComm, from central marketing and communications for the university, and then we have a whole team of campus communicators across campus. We share our email tool and social media channels with advancement MarComm. We share our email tool with the whole campus. And then we collaborate on content with Advancement MarComm. University relations sort of works with us, or we're decentralized, but university relations, our central comms, works with us to sort of manage media relations. They do press releases for us, and they do some other facilitation. We've used Anthology and Compass modules, whatever we're calling it now, for email, for more than a decade, but we're transitioning to Salesforce Marketing Cloud sometime in the next 6 months. We transitioned our CRM to Salesforce PeneQuest in the last year. It has been not pleasant, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But Salesforce Marketing Cloud is intended to integrate with that. So because of that, we have transferred all of the management of our campus emails to Advancement MarComm. They own Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and honestly, getting that off of our plate is kind of a huge blessing. That we have 30 campus partners. Let's see. We don't really have any regular cadence or formal meeting structure with Advancement MarComm. We are pretty aligned. We're in the same division, and we meet monthly as a division, but we get along. We have great personality alignment, I guess, and liking each other helps a lot. So we are in collaboration every day. Again, they've just taken over all of the email for campus partners, so they still reach out to us on a lot of those things, and the campus communicators will continue to reach out to us probably for the next year until they figure out that we're not running it anymore. Advancement MarComm also provides us content. They don't have their own social media channels. We own those, so they provide us with content related to development, gifts, things like that. We run Meta accounts, we have a LinkedIn account and a YouTube account. We also have an X account. And then they write occasional content for our alumni magazine that my team manages internally. We're just over 2 years into our working relationship with Advancement MarComm. They're still sort of figuring out how to organize themselves. Again, our personalities align really well. If I had a critique, it would be that we haven't really had the opportunity to sit down and strategize in an intentional way. We're not able to be proactive. Rachel, who directs Advancement MarComm, I don't report to her. You know, it's sort of, we're navigating that relationship, who's in charge of what. And we just never feel like we're able to be proactive about strategizing and aligning what we're doing. But with the COO that's joining the Alumni Association, we feel like that's going to be able to change in the future, and he's going to be able to direct some of that.
Great. Dana, you're up next.
Gotta make sure I hit all the points now. I'm Dana Morgan. I'm the Associate Executive Director for Marketing and Special Initiatives for the Clemson Alumni Association. We have approximately 190,000 living alumni, and we have about 15 employees on our staff. We are a separate 501c3, and we have a dotted line to our advancement VP. There are 3 marketing entities. Basically, I have a full marketing team within the Alumni Association. There's an advancement marketing team, and then there's internal MarComm, that is the university marketing team. So we collaborate with all 3, and annual giving sort of has its own little arm underneath the advancement marketing team, but they are their own separate entity as well. I have 4 fabulous people who work with me every day to make all the things happen for the Alumni Association from a marketing perspective. I have a brand manager, graphic designer, who you all just saw with the camera, and he just left, so you know I was going to talk about him. I have a communications manager, Megan, who's back in the back there, and she handles all of our email, which we actually manage for the entire university. That anything that goes to alumni goes through her desk. I have a brand spanking new social media person back there, Kaysen, that I'm so excited to have. She joined us in January and is knocking it out of the park. And then we also have a director of events that works in our area. And so we all collaborate on a daily basis to ensure that we are getting out all the information that our alumni need to have their Clemson experience every day. As far as collaborating with the other marketing departments, I do have monthly meetings with our annual giving office to talk about what they've got going on, so we can help work that into our email newsletters. We have an e-newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, and we ensure that whatever promotion they have going on, we get it inside there. We are under a capital campaign, Fiercely Forward, right now, so we're working with advancement marketing to ensure that we're getting that information out. And they are still trying to figure that out. We've launched it, but yet we don't have a full marketing plan, but we do the best we can. Sometimes we have to ask them for the content, but we get it. And then internal marketing, we actually have had a interesting shift in the last year. We had a new VP come on, and she is absolutely amazing. The best part about her is that she used to work in the alumni world, and she did the marketing for her alumni association, so she totally gets alumni and the importance of it. And the best thing that she can do for us is not try to overshadow us, but how to support us and incorporate us into everything that they're doing. So she's now added us into all of their internal MarComm meetings. So we have weekly communications meetings, we have weekly social media meetings, and then we have fairly regular branding and design. So they have their own shop, and then Daniel works very closely with them to make sure that all of our brand guidelines are up to date on the university's website, and that everybody within the university is following those guidelines as well. So they help us take, we get everything through CLC that we, is sent that way, but if there's anything internal from a college or department that wants to talk to alumni and they try to create their own alumni brand, we're very fortunate that internal MarComm branding catches that, sends it our way, and lets us make a decision on that. Usually is with our ring. We have a very unique ring design, and everybody wants to use it, but we own the trademark, so we want to make sure that they're doing exactly the way they should. And then our events team also works extremely closely with the advancement events team. So we do a lot of dual events. So any away game events, there's a set of donor events that lead into our more general fan and alumni events, and so we all work together to ensure that those are cohesive from a branding perspective. So we are incorporating the campaign brand into what we do, but at the same time making sure that it's not overshadowing our alumni brands. We're taking elements of the campaign and working it into what we're doing from an alumni marketing perspective, but working with those designers to ensure that they're not going to take the alumni brand and completely convert it over to a campaign brand. So, what else was all right, thank you.
Katie, you're next.
All right. Hi everyone, I'm Katie Schutz. I'm from the University of West Florida in Pensacola. We're right next to Alabama, if you don't know where that is. We are a team of 4, and 3 of us are here, and Robin's asking us my boss, Robin. Hi, Robin. And we are part of the state of Florida university system, so like Florida State, Florida, North Florida, South Florida, Central Florida. Our current enrollment is the highest it's ever been. We've actually been growing, so we have 15,000 students. We have 100,000 alumni, about 80,000 are contactable. The vast majority of them live in Florida, and the majority of that population lives in our local area, so we concentrate a lot on our local alumni population. We are non-dues based, so as soon as you cross the stage with your bachelor's degree or higher, you're automatically a member of the Alumni Association. You don't have to register, you don't have to pay anything. But we did launch in 2020 a new level of membership with extra perks called Sustaining Alumni. So if you make a donation of $20 or more to any fund, athletics, chemistry, whatever, you're automatically a Sustaining Alumni, and you can get like a discount to our on-campus gym and things like that. So we are part of University Advancement, and we are all in the same building, and University Advancement has all of these awesome, somewhat non-related departments in it. So we have Advancement Services, obviously the database people, Alumni Relations, Development, Annual Fund, Athletics, Major Gifts, and Donor Relations. University Marketing and Communications is in Advancement. And that's just the general university people, so all the PR, things like that. Our historic trust, so Pensacola is the first settlement in what is now the United States, and we have a huge archaeology department and stuff like that, so we actually own a lot of historic properties in our downtown area and surrounding areas, so that's all incorporated underneath Advancement. We also have an art museum and a couple of other museums that are under Advancement. The foundation, and then our local public media affiliate, WUWF, is on campus as well, and that's all under Advancement. So the way that communication works at UWF is each college or division, like academic affairs or student affairs, would have its own media or communications liaison basically, and they all report to their separate deans or VPs, but then they meet monthly with UMC. And the executive director of UMC is actually our advancement liaison. So she wears a ton of hats. All alumni-bound mass communications are supposed to flow through the Alumni Association and their communications, which is me. So if any department or college or whatever wants to get in contact with their alumni for an event, for a survey, for a newsletter, whatever, like they would go through me to talk about how to best do that. And then we would send it out through our constant contact account. So we're trying to make sure that all mass communications are going out through one central place. We also share that constant contact account with athletics and development. And if the university, like if the president wants to send an email to everybody, that also goes out through our constant contact account. So alumni, annual fund, and athletics, we each do our own communications, but we coordinate with each other, so we're not like spamming the same people, every day. And then alumni communications is me plus a graduate assistant. So the graduate assistant, who's actually about to graduate, we're about to onboard a new one, manages our social media accounts. And there's a lot of training that goes into that too, but we manage it together, and they're in charge of content development and scheduling and things like that. And then I work with executive director of UMC, her name's Claire. I'll probably mention Claire a lot. With her on major projects like the alumni magazine. UMC does most of that, but we contribute things like class notes, and I help proofread, and I pitch alumni spotlights and things like that to them. Things that go out in the mail, they help us design mail pieces and get that sent to the print shop and all that. And then a lot of graphic design, they have the best graphic designers and they're so creative. And so things like swag, again, mail pieces, if we have a big, new website graphic that I need, they'll do all of that for us.
All right, and Melissa, wrapping up with you.
Hey y'all, I'm Melissa Landry. I'm the Director of Advancement Communications at Loyola University in New Orleans. We were chartered in 1912. We're a Jesuit institution. Our alumni association is free to all graduates, so we have no membership dues. Our membership is about 54,000 deep. Our advancement communications team is 2 full-time employees. We send about 400 email campaigns per year. We create and distribute communications for about 100 alumni events per year. And we also support annual giving and stewardship donor relations and development. We're in the midst of our own campaign right now, so there's a lot of campaign communications happening that are embedded within our alumni communications, which is great. And then our efforts are streamlined and amplified by working with our university MarComm partners, with communications professionals in the individual colleges, with the deans of the colleges, and with our university president's office, who also sends communications through us.
Perfect. So with this spectrum of sizes and structures, we hope you can see yourselves in the answers to the questions, and you can find someone that can relate their experience to your experience. So to get started, in any order you would like to answer any of these questions, we'll get started. How has collaborating with Advancement MarComm benefited your association?
Start. So we only have 2 people on my team of 4 that are dedicated to communications and marketing. We are managing a quarterly magazine. We've got 2 email newsletters plus all of the emails from the association on behalf of our alumni groups, special events, affinity partnerships. Until recently, as I mentioned, we were managing or facilitating at least the release of emails for 30 campus partners. We manage 5 social media channels, a website that's also an anthology, and we have an alumni app. We also build all the event registrations for the association, for our alumni groups, for the occasional campus partner if they want to use our registration site. So the biggest benefit to us has been a little bit of extra manpower. We still manage all of that, but when we need additional content written, Advancement MarComm has a team of 6 people. They've got dedicated content writers, and they must have a little bit of time on their hands because I can get stuff from them just like that. We also have a really close relationship with our development officers, because they all report up through advancement as opposed to reporting to their deans. So we try to align our association's activities with what development officers are doing, and then once I find out what they're working on in their individual units, I can reach out to a campus communicator and get a little bit more information from them, and that way we can align our messages with what's going on across campus. And that's really how we worked around the fact that we are so decentralized. But mostly it's the extra manpower and maybe a little bit of extra graphic design help. We do have an intern that does graphic design for us 3 days a week, but when we want a professional, we usually go to our advancement MarComm partners.
So very similarly, I think the biggest benefit for us is that we're able to control our message to our audience. So we have to remind the university that we're speaking to their largest audience, 190,000 versus 28,000 students. And so when we're able to share with them what we have going on, what our branding needs to be, and what our messaging needs to be, it really helps get our message further, because even though we have the larger audience, they have the larger followers. So all of their social media accounts and their website hits are, much higher than ours are, but they help bring people to us. And so that's probably been the biggest benefit of partnering with them. Sharing out our ring ceremony, or sharing out our welcome back festival, or especially trying to reach our students as well. So we have a lot of student programming, and I'm sure you all know, it's not really easy to reach students in traditional ways, because one, they don't open email very much unless it's about something that they really want to know about, and they probably don't necessarily automatically follow our social media. So if we can get the university to assist us with their social, or even with TV screens across campus or things like that, then it really helps get our message out and reach a little bit further. One of the things that I think is really awesome for us is that they have a full video and photography services team, and so we're able to utilize them when we need to. They help us do our live streaming, they help us produce video content when we need it, they can even help us produce social media if we want it. But now that we have Kason, it changes things a little bit, which is really great, but she also has people she can learn from with the university, so they have a great program there. We also have a great relationship with the PR team, so I do a lot of our releases and our stories, but I can share them with them, and they will put them out on their channels or through their website and link back to us, which, again, brings more people to our site. We don't run or own our magazine, but we are able to put content in it, and the best part about that is sometimes I can just say, hey, here's a really cool alumni story, can you take it and run, and then I don't have to do the vetting or the interviewing or the writing, and I can concentrate on other things. But they always make sure that when we have our award ceremonies, that all of our honorees are highlighted in the next issue, and we sort of have a content calendar with them to make sure that all of our important things get covered in the magazine. And then I think one of the things I said a minute ago is probably also one of the best parts about having that relationship is that they help control our brand based on our preferences. So, if somebody is trying to create a new alumni logo, we know, nope, not gonna do that. We're gonna stick to the branding that we have in place. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm getting text messages like crazy, so I'm trying really hard to concentrate. And then on top of that, just being able to understand what they've got going on and saying, we do have this huge audience of people, and we want to be able to share what you've got going on, whether it's from a university perspective or if it's from a college perspective. It's really great to connect ourselves with them. The college communicators work under internal MarComm, but those meetings I was talking about, the communications meetings, gets me in front of them so we can hear what they've got going on, they can hear what I've got going on, they can add it into their newsletters. And then, of course, from the marketing perspective, we send out all their emails. So we have a really good relationship with them through Megan to say, all right, this is when your content's going out, but make sure you're keeping this in mind, or You wanna put your ad in our newsletter that we have going out, because we feel like that's really good content that our alumni need to know about, not just your college kind of thing. So, just being able to have that regular communication and share each other's content and build that relationship up has become a major benefit for us.
From the embedded comms perspective, working really closely with our alumni association has helped build a really strong bridge so that we can anticipate their needs. So that when we're going into meetings with them, sometimes we're coming with things pre-designed, ready for them to review without them having to ask for it. And also, because we're working with annual giving and development and stewardship and all the different areas, we're able to control our content calendar a little bit better so that we're not oversaturating some of our market with messages from a bunch of different things in different ways. We're able to embed all those communications together. So it really works well to make for a cohesive strategy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what y'all said I had on my notes as well. It helps for us that we're all in the same building and we're in kind of a unique situation where we don't have a lot of staff turnover. So a lot of us have been working together for a long time. So sometimes answers are just like a text message away, which is really nice. And also for us, like that we've been working together for such a long time, we have this like trust with each other where like I don't have to get people's approval to post something on Facebook, or I send, an email draft to somebody just like, hey, can you look at this, make sure there's no misspellings and the links work and stuff, but it's not like things have to go up the ladder to get approved, which is really nice. If we need things kind of on a tight timeline, like we have people that really just turn it around within a few hours, because like they do know that alumni is their largest audience, and so they want to make sure that we're getting what we need. Also for our newsletters, like I kind of view our communications as like pushing out what the university wants the alumni to know, like what are the brag points, what are the things that we want out in the news right now. So I always ask like Claire and our athletics person, like, hey, what are the top headlines that you guys want in our newsletter? Because we want to make sure that we're putting our university's best foot forward and things that whatever the university's goals and their priorities are being told to alumni. So having that partnership has been really helpful, because then I'm not playing a guessing game. Like they're just like, this is the article we want in the newsletter. So that's been very helpful. And then also just on like a personal pride, we always have the cutest swag because they really spend a lot of time on designing our stuff, which is nice. And they get very creative, so it's very cool. And just being in the same, we call it core meetings every month where we all meet on Zoom as a division. So we know what's going on with the fundraisers, we know what's going on with the Historic Trust, we know what's going on with the WWF, and what everyone's currently working on. So we're kind of in the know of the different annual fund campaigns and things like that. They don't normally ask alumni to do a lot of communications for fundraising because they manage their own emails and things like that, but sometimes they'll have us put things on our social media accounts, but we don't normally post fundraising things on our social media accounts. It's just for Day of Giving, and there might be a crowdfunding campaign or two, but yeah, otherwise I feel like it's definitely a mutually beneficial situation for us, where if like they need something automatically, yes, you can have it, and if we need something, it's not a problem, here you go. And I think that just comes with the camaraderie and the rapport that we've built over the years together.
Thank you. What are some common hurdles you face when collaborating with other MarComm teams, and how do you tackle them?
Okay. Working with our external MarComm partners can sometimes be slow going. We face a lot of bandwidth and territory issues. Their priorities are not our priorities. The best way I've found to sort of hurdle it is to schedule meetings with them, and whether it's in person or on Zoom, just talking about objectives and timelines, and then offering solutions if there's bandwidth issues. So if you can't do A, can you do B, and how can I help you do B in the best way possible? If it's pre-writing everything, pre-designing everything, giving you the final file, and then you polish it, that's fine, we can make that happen. But how can we be a good partner with you? Something that I also have found to be helpful is to create relationships outside of requests. So I make a point to reach out to my MarComm partners often and say, oh, I saw this thing you did, that's really cool. Or our donor emailed us and said they really love how this looks, good job. And that has built some positive traction with them, where they're thinking of me outside of just the annoying requests that are filling their inbox. So it's really creating relationships with them so that when I come to them
Okay, just making sure it was working. I think like our biggest hurdle is like the separate college they each have their own liaison, the one person, right, not a team. And that one person is very busy doing all the other things for the college, and they concentrate a lot on their students and faculty and staff, as they should. And sometimes it's like, oh, we have alumni we need to talk to too. So like, what can you guys do for us? How can you help us with that? But also sometimes they don't even like think to ask us what we can do to help. They just try to do it themselves. So getting that out there that we are able to help you, and like that's literally like we like to talk to students and we love students, but talking to alumni that's our thing. We're supposed to be doing that. Like we're supposed to be helping you do that. And like how like giving them their strategies of how we can best assist them, and like what we found has been best practices, kind of helping them think in a different way about like, okay, so do you want to literally contact every single one of your alumni no matter where they live or when they graduated, or is this message more for somebody that's living locally that graduated in the last like 30 years, you know? Like who do you want at this event? Is it everybody or is it certain folks? And sometimes it ends up becoming like a fundraising conversation and not necessarily like all alumni conversation. Also like when they're like, oh yeah, we have alumni, we need to do an event for them. Okay, all right, let's talk about that too. Like how can we refine your audience? Like what's your budget? Like, do you want to apply for some money that we can give to help you out? How do you want to publicize this? Can we get you a list? Things like that. And then at the end, on the other side of those things, getting the data that they collect from those alumni. So right now I'm actually helping the International Affairs Office like get a list of their international graduates to gather testimonials and employment information and things like that. And I'm like, well, we want to know those things too. So making sure that we're following up with them after they've made that contact. And sometimes they just get really busy, especially the school year is about to start. So, and that's not a priority for them. So it's kind of like following up with them, like, hey, we would love to have this too, so we can update our database. And that can help you in the future when you're trying to reach out to them again, if we have like their correct email address and all of that stuff.
I'll jump in. So we do work really closely with Advancement MarComm. Our obstacles there are just what I've already alluded to, that we do not feel like we have had the time to be strategic and fully aligning what they're doing on behalf of the whole division and what we're doing to reach out to alumni. But in general, I feel like that is pretty strong. Where I think we face our greatest obstacles, very similar to what you've heard already, is sort of siloing of communication that goes on across campus. I'm sure you all encounter that as well. And I don't really attribute it to them wanting to hold everything tightly to the chest. I think we just default to our kind of comfort zones in our own areas. So the burden of getting information that we feel like would be valuable to our entire alumni base, because we're sending emails. If we send to our entire base, we're sending to about 85,000 emailable people. And you know, the Fulbright College, they're sending to about 30,000 people. That's our College of Arts and Sciences. And I think they forget that there are people from other colleges who would be interested in some of the things that they're doing. One of the things they're working on sort of across our division with development officers is sort of, you can imagine the obstacles here with frontline fundraisers, of having them recognize that if they're cultivating, you know, a gift, and they recognize that this person actually has a greater affinity for something that is happening in a different college, it doesn't hurt them to refer that and make sure that that donor is going to get the biggest bang for their buck with their gift. So, you know, we've got sort of that dynamic going on. And then with the communicators, we have to reach out to them. We want to make sure that our alumni know what's going on across campus. You know, they are always grateful when I reach out, but it's just never their first thought. So opening the lines of communication, building really strong relationships with our development officers has been important, but just breaking down those silos, and not just the silos between colleges, but Fulbright, for instance, has 19 departments, and about 10 of them have their own communicators, and they're trying to send out individual newsletters from each department, and I've spent 5 years trying to explain to them the value of segmenting. When you send out your Fulbright College newsletter, why don't you segment for journalism and for English and for theater and for all of these others? And just getting these very ingrained ways of doing things, having them change the Fulbright Review, that's their monthly newsletter, it's not gonna happen until someone comes in and tells them. So that has to come from the dean, and moving that forward has been a real challenge.
So for us, especially in the last year, it has been trying to make sure that we're able to incorporate the university's messaging and the advancement messaging without losing our own identity. So ensuring that, you know, all of our messaging remains the same, but somehow we're able to circle back to their initiatives as well. Another thing that has gotten much, much better because we have better communications with each of those departments is they really love the things that we do, and they tend to put the content out as if they own it. And so trying to make them remember, I know you love our ring ceremony and it is awesome, and we've got, you know, 2,500 kids getting their rings, and it's a very special moment. But when you are sharing that content out, you always gotta make sure you say, brought to you by the Alumni Association, because otherwise you're just causing confusion. People don't know where to go if they have questions about their ring. Parents are like, oh, I never got my ring, I wanna get my ring. Well, now where do they go? That kind of thing. So, it's, like I said, it's gotten much better. They're putting our bugs on the end of their social media at times, or in their comments, for their posts. They're making sure that they're tagging us in it and using the language to let people know that it is the Alumni Association. Even we have senior week activities, and they wanted to bring this new activation in this past year, which was probably one of the most fun and challenging things that we've ever done with MarComm, because we had one very excited person who wanted to create a whole new event around this activation. We're like, nope, we already have a whole week's worth of stuff, so why don't we just bring that and make it one aspect of this great event that we call Rub the Rock, where our students love to come. They rub, if you know anything about Clemson, we got a rock on a hill, football, they rub it, they run down the hill, it's great. But essentially, you know, becoming a part of what we do instead of trying to take over what we do. And the only way that we have been able to make sure that that doesn't happen is through these meetings and communications. And I know I don't need another meeting. I have so many meetings, but sometimes the meetings are so important that you have to make time for them. So I think it's just making sure that they understand us, understand our identity, and we don't lose ourselves because of their excitement of what we do.
All right, what tools and methods do you use to keep messaging consistent and manage content schedules between departments and channels?
Well, the university uses Wrike. Because we are separate, they don't always give us access to everything, so we only have one seat on Wrike, which is fine. I'm the one who manages a lot of that. They do give us access to forms and things where we need to request stories or photography or whatever the case may be. We can put those in. My team uses Asana, and so we're still sort of learning that process, but making sure that our team understands everything that's going on for ourselves that we can share with each other in Asana is really important. And then we have Slack. So our team has Slack, the university has Slack, and you know, we swap between each of our different, you know, the communications team, the social media team, etc. They all have their individual channel, and so we go back and forth through that as well. And that's really helped a lot. You know, my inbox gets slammed, and I can't ever catch up on email, but being able to have everything categorized and my notifications popping up, it just keeps me on top of what I need to do, because we just get inundated, you know, like I said, text messages constantly. You just get inundated with information, and having it all in one place is searchable and extremely important. But we also make sure that we share our marketing plans and our content plans and our event plans with each of those marketing teams, so they know what we've got going on and what we've got planned. And if they want to incorporate their activities or their donor events or whatever the case may be in those, then they know what's coming. And so they have also been sharing back with us. So we all have a really good idea from a marketing perspective, everything that's going out from the university from each department.
So we use a combination of channels too. We rely primarily on teams to coordinate social media content with Advancement MarComm. Now, I probably should have mentioned I don't manage social media all by myself. I did have to hire an agency. It was easier to pay them on an annual basis than to convince the university that I needed a reporting line. So they do a lot of that, but we have to manage that content through a Google Sheet because they can't access our Teams and Microsoft. So that's for social media. For email, it's pretty tightly calendared. We went through a campus-wide process probably 5 years ago, really paying attention to our email reputation. We were getting a lot of unsubscribes and some negative outcomes on email, and so they really encouraged everybody to move to encompass IMODs and to use us now Advancement MarComm. So they have to request sending a time to send out an email. We only want our alums to receive one email in a 24-hour period max. We feel like that keeps unsubscribes pretty low. And we've had really good luck with our metrics. We have about a 45% open rate. We're pretty proud of that. But everything else is decentralized. Everybody's got their own website. And again, if I'm not reaching out to know what other people are doing, messages are not always aligned. It is a struggle.
Representing for the small schools with no money for software, we have a Google Sheet that we schedule all of our emails on. It looks like a calendar. The same girl every year updates the days on the calendar, and each month has its own tab, and each department has its own color, and we put all of our emails in there. So we make sure that we're not emailing everybody on the same day. So that's athletics emails, that's alumni emails, that's advancement emails, that's university emails. All that kind of stuff is all color coded in our Google Sheet. I mean, besides that, like as far as keeping messaging keeping messaging consistent, like for example, today I'm drafting an email for our annual Argo rally, which is like in August, all of the coaches are there. It's at a local bar as a sponsor, and we invite all of our alumni and athletics donors, and it's just a really big kind of celebration every year. And I'm like, hey, Justin from athletics, can you take a look at this email, make sure everything's good before I send it out? Like, can I have your graphic that y'all are using? Can you make sure to make us a co-host of your Facebook group or Facebook event, things like that, just so we can all be sharing the same thing, and I'm not reinventing the wheel or taking away from their messaging or saying something that's not true about their event. Same thing with annual fund. We do every year a t-shirt fundraiser. So the Alumni Association works with UMC to design an exclusive t-shirt, and we do a $30 donation, which makes you a sustaining alumni. So you get those perks, and you get a t-shirt with the year on it and everything. And I'm like, hey, does this fundraising language look good? Because I know when you're soliciting money, you have to use certain language. You can't promise things. You can't say, I'm selling a t-shirt, right? It's like you're getting this in return for making a gift. And so they look over all of that language on our website, on our emails, things like that before I send it out. And again, that's also just coming with how we've all been working together for so long. I texted Justin, hey, can you please look at this so I can send it out today? So we're not going through a ticket kind of system, which for better or for worse, that's how we run things. For larger university-wide initiatives like Day of Giving, we do have big Zoom meetings with all of the communications liaisons, just so we're all on the same page about who's sending out what and what you have permission to change and what you have permission to not change. We're all using the same graphics, things like that. We've got our Google shared folders, just keeping the lines open between each other, so we're keeping everything consistent.
We're in a similar situation. We're a Google Workspace campus, so our content calendars in Google Sheets, our social media calendars in Google Sheets. We have a lot of shared files. We do a lot of shared notes with action items after our project meetings, which I really love, and that is consistent across our team. So anybody can look at a project meeting and see what all the tasks are related to that. We're currently investigating We were with Monday, and stopped using that, I think, in January. So we're looking at ClickUp for something that's maybe a little bit more robust than a lot of different Google Sheets.
Perfect. I'm going to pivot us now and ask the audience if they have any questions. We can come back to the additional questions if we have time. So anyone in the room, I've got a mic up here that I can run back to. Do you have questions for our panelists on collaborating with advancement or other MarComm teams?
Hey all. I know Melissa and Danny, you guys touched on this a little bit, but from our side, our alumni marketing person is like mortal enemies with our advancement marketing person. The worst part is they're both me, so it makes it really tough. But from the alumni side of things, I think my goal, or in our operating plan, is get engagement. Really make our alumni audience feel welcomed, but make sure there's no like strings attached. Like we don't want it to be a sales pitch every time. But from the advancement side, all of our metrics are if you're giving. How do you find kind of the balance between bombarding your audience with this giving message and kind of losing them? And I know you were talking about like the unsubscribe rate, but making sure that you're getting your advanced messaging across without making them feel overwhelmed to the point that they burn out and leave your subscription.
We do a lot of subtle asks, so we have ask buttons pretty much on everything. So if you want to give, it's there, but it's not hitting you over the face. One thing that we try to do a lot is feature alumni who are donors, and make sure that we're saying they're donors and this is how they're making an impact, because that will inspire others to give. So we try to do it in that way rather than it just being a straight hard ask.
Very similarly, we limit the fundraising. We are just now moving into a situation where our team is expected to have fundraising goals, so this is new for us. We do try to incorporate our annual giving content all the time. So there's a give button, there's a soft ask. If you go to our newsletter, you're always going to see the give now. If you go to the top of the website page, it's always going to say give now. But like she said, we share a lot of those donor stories, impact stories, student scholarship stories, things like that. We do limit the number of advertisers in our newsletter, but we always have an annual giving message in it, and it's subtle, but it's there. And we do struggle trying to make sure, especially like on our social media, that we cover what we need to without making people think, oh my God, all we do is ask for money. Because you're always going to get that, I just paid you all this money for tuition, or I just bought this fancy ring. Yeah, we get it, we know. But some other things that we do that I think are a little unique is we try to build, this culture of philanthropy with our students. And we have this amazing thing that we do at graduation that they know and expect, and they can't wait till they get there. We're big for Tiger Paw Stamp, $2 bills. Yes, we're debasing money. Nobody's mad at us. They let us do it. The banks help us. People just don't use $2 bills much, so it's just a unique item. And it came about in the late 70s. Georgia Tech said we didn't have an impact on their economy, so they didn't want to play us anymore. And we're like, well, we're going to show you. And so we brought $2 bills that we drew Tiger Paws on, and it's a tradition today. But with that, we have an anonymous donor that gives $2 $1 bills in the hopes that they will get that back as their first gift. And so we try to plant that seed early, and once you start creating that opportunity for them to give back in a small way and then sharing, we have some incredible young alumni that I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking going into the higher ed world, but I obviously chose wrong, because they make a killing by the time they're like 27, which is awesome. But just to see the impact that they have, and their peers can see it through those stories that we're telling either in the newsletter or through our social media, it really does it for us, and we don't have to do that hard ask.
I would agree with that. We have some amazing young alumni too. I guess we had a board meeting a couple years ago, and we're a 30-member board, and we try to have anywhere from 5 to 10 be graduates from the last 10 years. And a more seasoned board member, made a comment that, I wouldn't say it was disparaging of Gen Z and millennials, but it did suggest that they were all about what's in it for me. And one of our younger alumni, the older one, she stood up and she said, it's not what's in it for us, we want to see the impact of our gift. I was so impressed with her being able to stand up and say that, because the guy who said what's in it for me was, he's pretty intimidating. But anyway, that's what everybody wants to see. They just want to see the impact of their gift. And so we rarely we are not a fundraising organization. We are a friend-raising organization. We do leave all of the hard fundraising to our frontline people over in development. But we do have I probably should have mentioned this too, we do still have life membership. And so that is an ask we're making pretty regularly. But we try to limit it to a once a month ask. We're doing soft asks to our Fund of Excellence. We have a large scholarship program. We give over $1 million a year to about 650 scholars. So we're telling scholar stories. They're happy to tell us. They're just so grateful for their scholarships that they will talk to us ad nauseum. They'll write, paragraphs for us if we want to put it on social media. They'll let us highlight them in our newsletters, and they're happy to write articles for us in the magazine, and we only have to edit them a little bit. So, showing people the impact of their gift, I think, is so key, and you really don't have to make a hard ask. I think if people see enough people like them giving back to their university, they'll follow suit.
Hello, good morning. I have two questions. The first is, what are your policies on managing alumni consent when you're marketing and communicating with them? Do they opt in? Is there an opt-out option? Do your university marketing teams have thoughts on that? And then secondly, how do you manage, kind of bottleneck? And we don't have an alumni marketing or communications team. It's just our university marketing and communications team, and so they're doing everything for the entire college. So they're sometimes bottlenecked with all of the demands that are on their plate.
We have opt-out language on everything. We try to be really good about it. We have sort of created a system where everyone is opted in until they opt out, because they have to give us an email that's not their student email when they graduate. So if they've given us that email, we consider that an opt-in. In terms of bottleneck, we try to be really transparent with deadlines. So if something needs to go out by a certain date, even if that certain date is arbitrary, we try to communicate that really upfront, so that when we're emailing them to bother them or being a squeaky wheel, that date has already been stated repeatedly. And we'll include it in every email when we ask to check in. Hey, just a reminder, this is supposed to go out on this day. Any updates? And it kind of helps move things along, I find, for our teams.
Yeah, as far as the opting out and the data management like that, we actually are pretty strict when it comes to things like that. Obviously when they give us their email address, they're opting in, but if they unsubscribe or do not contact, it's a process to get them back on there. We have to have an express consent from them. Then we have Constant Contact sends them an email. They have to click a button that resubscribes them, which is really difficult and annoying. But so we try to get them to not opt out. But our advancement services team is very protective over our data, and our general counsel is very I don't really know, but they're just like any good general counsel should be. They don't want us to get in trouble, so they make us very aware of the laws about spam and mass emailing, which is also why we're so protective about departments sending mass emails. If they ask for a big email list, I'm how are you all planning on contacting these people? Because you cannot send an email from your UWF email to 2,000 people. That's actually against the law, I think. So we try to educate them on that. But something that's been helpful as far as that goes is, even though our advancement services, basically when they pull a list, it expires in 2 weeks. We have to pull another one. They will remove it from Constant Contact. That's when I know that I'm no longer able to use that. And I've actually been trained on how to pull the lists that I need the most often. So I can just go in there and do that myself while they're worrying about a queue of more complicated queries and things like that. So that's been really helpful. As far as the bottleneck, our busiest seasons are really football season because we're sending, like our constant account is sending out all the tailgate information. We're sending out communications about each weekend's tailgate because each college has its own tailgate and we're emailing their alumni about it. And then also in April because that's when our Day of Giving and our Founders Week is. And so when departments contact us about wanting us to send emails to their alumni, I'm just like, heads up, like we're really heading into a busy email calendar season. So like, if you want me to get you on the calendar, like you need to give me your draft and we need to start approving things pretty quickly. And especially if they have a complicated alumni query about we want to send it to these specific people or we're looking to contact these people of this minor that graduated that live in this state or whatever. I'm like, okay, like this is going to be a little bit longer to wait for this list because Advancement Services is pulling all of our segments for Day of Giving right now, and just being really upfront with them about like when they can expect action from us, and that they know like we're going into a season where alumni are being contacted a lot. So if they want to contact them, we have to make it a quality touch point for them.
All our policies and guidelines for mass communication are on our website, so if you're wanting to go out and
We don't, we are always in a bottleneck, so, yeah, it's just the way it is. Tons of people who wanna communicate, we I have no answer for that. But in terms of, opting out and unsubscribing, we assume if you graduated from the university, that was a transaction, that you would like to hear from us until you tell us otherwise, but we do follow all the CAN spam laws really, really closely. And so when people unsubscribe through Encompass, it used to seamlessly overnight move into our database. Since we've moved to FiniQuest, it's not seamless. We have to pull a report ourselves at the end of every single day and send it to our advancement IT team to make sure that we're staying up to date. So, and then we have no process right now. So if they're getting information about people not wanting to be contacted, that is not through our email system, we do not have a mechanism for getting that into Encompass. So how about that? Fun.
And we use Emma, and if they opt out, you're out. Like she said, you gotta send them a link, they gotta opt back in. But we refresh our list for every single email. So like Megan is literally building a list constantly. And all of our opt-outs go to our advancement IT team to update the repackaged email that Emma created for us. But also think of EU consent, that's a really big deal. So if you're thinking about opting in people who have moved to the EU, or even I think California now goes after that law. So making sure that you're being very careful with that and that they opt in through those processes as well.
All right, there we go. We have time for one more question. Otherwise, you'll need to find our friends at lunch or beyond. There we go.
Also, you need to think about it, but for any of you all with student data, when they're transitioning, graduating, whether they, one, does university require them to put a personal email up on application for graduation, and then two, the process of that transferring over to your data after it's complete process, you can, I see some faces on if you get that in a timely manner. We do not, we typically don't get it until August or September. We're actively trying to get it all sooner, especially with our young alumni communication. I'm curious if you have any successes and how you maybe get student data cleaned over into the system, and just any advice.
We still do not have student data from May of 2024. So we're way behind. That is due to our CRM transition. But historically, it's been just like that. We don't get it until August or September. They are not required to give a non-UARC email address. They lose their non-UARC email address unless they're staying on as a grad student or faculty staff. And so we lose them, and we have to go find them. Fortunately, we do. Advancement has, is it Salesforce? No, it's not Salesforce. It's LinkedIn Navigator. Anyway, so they do a lot of research for us, but no, we lose them. It's sad.
So we're very aggressive with our students and getting contact information before they leave. As I mentioned, our senior week, we we require them to give us 2 email addresses, their Clemson email and an email that is not their Clemson email that they plan to use. So when they're signing up for things or they're checking in, we get that information. Unfortunately, it's an extremely manual process for us once that happens, because now we have to go into our database, we'll have every single one of them, get their T number, because their student ID sometimes works, but sometimes doesn't, so we have to do both, and then we have to send it over for a mass upload. We also, the $2 bill thing that we do, you have to give us your information so that we can give you credit for your gift. So we ask for that personal email address as well there. So we are actively going and asking for it. So everything that we do is saying, hey, we can't reach you if you don't. Now I'm not saying we haven't lost a lot of people. For a while, we had the GDOT emails that were supposed to be lifetime, and if any of you all got hit with Google's change like we did, you know we lost 30,000 contacts like that. And then of course they're all mad because they wanted to keep that email address, but we are trying to come up with all kinds of ways for us to creatively get that information back, reaching out through our alumni networks in their local areas. But it is a challenge. We are fortunate that when you become a student, you go into our database. So we already have them, but they don't necessarily get dumped as graduates to become alumni until, and it's usually about 4 or 5 weeks after graduation. But our IT team, and that is, you know, they're more dedicated to doing that for Annual Giving than they are for us, but we benefit from it. And we do send the emails to the Clemson email address right after they graduate, and then we wait a few weeks later after they've been converted and say, hey, remember, now we need to know your zip code, because that's how we know what club to put you in wherever you are in the country. So trying to make that communication keep going to get them to remember to update everything with us.
Ours, we take a little while to get them from the campus. Usually, it'll probably be another few months before we get them from May. But we are pretty active with our students. We do a grad gift campaign that's really successful, where we're asking them for their email outside of the campus email. We do a lot of tabling around campus in the last semester to make sure that we're, you know, hey, come get your t-shirt, you're an alum, give us your email. And then we do reach out to parents with a lot of our commencement messaging, telling them to remind their students to reach out to the Alumni Association for the benefits, and asking them to submit their email to us for those newsletters so they can always know what's happening. And then our Young Alumni Pack is really, really good at getting their friends and classmates to sign up for events through the registration pages, which they then have to use an on-campus email for. So it's very multi-pronged approach.
Yeah, it's called the grad import. When we get the grad import from Banner, like it's normally like 6 weeks after graduation, where we had like 1,500 graduates in our last class, so it's not as big as some of y'all. But they do have to, when they register for graduation, provide, I don't think it's enforced that they can't use their UWS student address, but most of them do provide an external address. And then they lose their student account after 3 consecutive semesters of non-enrollment. And our ITS department does tell them about that, but we actually just sent them an email a few weeks ago that was like, your student email doesn't last forever. Like, if you still want to, like, it was like, move your stuff out of there, A, and then B, give us your normal email address so you'll continue getting things. And we actually did get a lot of people submitting forms. We also send them, and this has been a very successful email for us, we have 1 day of commencement, and at noon on that day, we send an email to all the graduates being like, welcome to the Alumni Association, here's things to do. Like, it's a welcome letter from our board president, and then like, here's some things to look for, here's some things to do now that you're an alumni, and one of those is update your information, tell us where you're moving to if you're moving, tell us your job that you're gonna be getting, or that you have already. And we do get a lot of response to that. That's like normally an 80% open, 10% click email for us. It's by far our most successful email. But they're eager to hear from us, and they're excited about this new stage. So we've actually this year taken advantage of that enthusiasm and sent them a lot more emails, and they've been very successful. During football season, we always have like, here's our contact cards, we need your email addresses. Like it's kind of a boots on the ground in your face, like we need your stuff. But also I'm gonna send you a vaguely threatening email about your student email address account. You're losing it, so give us your real email, please.
Perfect. Thank you. To our panelists, help me thank these wonderful ladies with a round of applause. If you have additional questions, please try to find them. They're a wonderful resource. We have a quick break. Session 4 begins at 11 in the same 3 breakout rooms. Please consult your app using the instructions we gave you at the beginning to get back into the schedule and figure out which session you're going to. Thank you so much, everyone.